We're kind of getting started. Oh, and we're recording. Thanks, Melissa. So as we're getting going here, just want to remind folks to please say your name when you start speaking. So I haven't practiced that. So I'm Robin Johnson, and I'm calling us to order as the YDD chair. And so as we are getting started, just noting for folks that this meeting will be recorded. And this is a formal advisory meeting of the state. And if you're a member of the public and wish to comment, there is a public comment section of the agenda at the end of this meeting. And the members of the public have up to 3 minutes to speak per person. And if you would like to comment, please send via the chat a message to Melissa, and so that she's aware that you'd like to speak, and we can just start to kind of get the roster of public comments going, and we capture that you want to speak, so we make sure we give you that time at the end. And with that, I think I'm actually going to hand it off to Brian for any staff introductions. I know there's a land acknowledgement update and then a review of the overall agenda. So I hand it off to you, Brian.
Thanks, Robin. And why don't we go to Melissa to do a roll call.
Great. I will take roll. Thank you, Ian. This is Melissa Gallardo. Zan Ojero.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Eric Cardella.
Here.
Parasa Chanrami. Janine Hartley.
Here.
Celeste Jansen. Robin Johnson.
Here.
Robin. Andy Leonard. Tabidi Lewis. Adrian Livingston. Christina McMahon.
Here.
Maricela Ortega Guzman. Jeff Parker. Molly Rogers. Diana Rojas. Andy Santana May. Karen Spencer.
Here.
Liz Thorne. Koi Vu. Kiwi Wilson. All right, that is the total. We need 11 to reach quorum. So I will do a quick tally.
Thanks, Melissa. I know Celeste was going to join a little bit late, and there was one other name that you read that had let us know that they just need a little more time this morning to get here. But
And Liz just joined, so I'm going to add Liz to present on the roll call. Hi, Liz.
Good morning.
It looks like 7 council members attending right now.
all right.
So we would need 4 more for a quorum for the vote later.
Okay. Well, the vote that we need to take, I think, is at during the 10:40 section, although as a staff, we're prepared to move that discussion up a little bit earlier if needed when we've reached quorum, so we can be flexible. I know Jared and Paul and Cord and others are ready to be flexible when necessary, but we'll get started with the other parts of our agenda. Again, for the record, my name is Brian Detman, Youth Development Division Director. Really appreciate everybody being here relatively bright and early. See a number of staff members who've also signed on, so you'll get a chance to kind of have a little conversation here with folks in the breakout rooms, which will start in I don't know, 10 minutes or so. Just wanted to make a few kind of opening announcements regarding staff and sort of staff introductions. One note is actually about one of our staff members who you've, I think, met, Tanisha Bishop, who's relatively new. I don't know. Actually, she just had her 1-year anniversary. She is not able to join today's meeting. She is out on leave and is actually recovering from a car accident. So we've been in regular communication with Tanisha, and she's doing okay. She certainly has some time ahead. Probably she's been out for a few weeks, and I think it's going to be several more weeks. But we've had some direct conversations, and she's home, and her family's taking care of her. But just keep her in your thoughts. Yeah, it was I think a pretty scary accident. And again, she's Melissa spoke to her yesterday, and we're just kind of holding space for Tanisha as she recovers. A new staff member who's, I think, on the screen somewhere, Joy Abuba, is an administrative specialist who's new to the team. She's working specifically with our prevention and justice group. Thanks, Eric, for the welcome in the chat. And she'll support our work with the state advisory group and with our juvenile justice committee. Joy, if I'm not mistaken, had been doing some internship with, I think, the Oregon Department of Transportation, and one thing led to another, and she's come on staff with the Youth Development Division. So we're really excited to have Joy on the team. Joy, are you out there somewhere? Do you want to say hi?
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, my name is Joy Abuba. I was previously an intern for the Department of Transportation. And I think for the most part, after I was done, and I just recently got out of college as well. So I was really excited, and it was just a really great opportunity to be part of the Department of Education. And honestly, the Youth Development Division has just been like a dream, and it's been really great working with everyone. So it's great to meet you all.
Thanks, Joy. Good to see you. And then a couple other quick announcements. I think you're all aware that we are hiring I don't know if every organization, business, and agency is doing similarly, but we have 2 positions open: a racial disparity coordinator, racial equity and disparity coordinator, who works again with our prevention and justice team. Sanji was in that role prior. We had done a search. We interviewed 3 candidates. In short, we felt like we needed to reopen the search. So we're still in the process of filling that. Anya has been working double duty, and we'll continue to kind of carry the work while we're searching for a permanent person. And then the other position that we're hiring for is for the Future Ready Oregon work, right, which is the workforce and kind of work readiness related grants. And so we're hiring an analyst for that work, really a grant manager position. And there too, we had final interviews and a host of finalists. We actually, in that situation, offered the job to our top candidate, but then that person dropped out we were about to offer it to a top candidate, but then that person took another job. And then we had another couple of folks, I think highly qualified and ready, and the 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken, folks, after conversations ended up kind of taking new roles. So this seems to be happening. Maybe it's happening in your workplaces, but it's certainly happening around the state, where it's just hard to get folks into a role, because there's a stiff competition for new and great opportunities, and folks are often, applying for multiple things. And sometimes it's about timing, but also I think it's about Like if you can get your job offered first, that's great. But in some cases, I think folks, what we're hearing too is folks who just had 2 or 3 options, but then when the dream job comes available, they've taken that. So not that YDD isn't everybody's dream job, but apparently it isn't. So that's the update on staffing. Just wanted to make sure you are all aware and know that our team is, as I said, various folks are carrying multiple responsibilities and duties as we're frankly a bit short-staffed, and we're doing our best to fill those roles. We're looking at some temporary hires that can maybe step in on a, whether it's a full-time basis or a part-time basis, but on a kind of multi-month basis, we can make temporary hires more quickly than, say, a full-time permanent hire. So if you have ideas on somebody who might be interested in 20, 30, could be 40 hours a week of work, and can kind of provide, these may more likely be kind of in support and in administrative roles. We are interested because we'd rather have some folks that we can kind of get in more quickly, and maybe then they can compete for the full-time or permanent job, but they get the benefit of doing some of the work and being introduced to our focus. That's actually how Tanisha joined the team. She was a temporary hire and then competed for the job that she has now. So let us know, reach out to Melissa, reach out to me, send whoever, just if you have an idea, we can then take it from there. If you have a name and an email address or want to make an email introduction, we'd love to be connected to any folks you think might be interested in employment, again, on a kind of temporary basis or a permanent basis. Any comments or questions about kind of the staffing update?
Hang in there.
Thanks. All right.
It's not ideal, but I was just going to ask, I mean, is there anything that can be done to, not expedite the process of, not skipping any steps, but is there anything we can do in the division to streamline the, getting applicants into at least first interview or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the temporary path is a way to make things happen more quickly. So that's why we're looking at that, Eric.
Right.
From a council's perspective, if you have specific people or ideas, let us know. We're actually, for one of the roles, actually, given that Tanisha is out, we're also looking at kind of having someone come in and just do a little temporary work. So I know that Paul's developed kind of a little short list of duties and responsibilities. So once we get that finalized, we can share it with the council, and you're welcome to distribute it. I'd say distribute it by like maybe a direct email or 2 or 3. But I think the temporary hiring is probably the way that we can fast track some things if we find qualified candidates.
Yep. Great.
So
Thank you for that, and good luck. I mean, I think you want to find the right people for sure.
yeah, you're right. Great. Yeah, I'm seeing some messages too in the chat. As we get that, I don't want to call it a position description, but as we get any of these little short list of duties, and we have to work through HR to figure out we have the right classification, et cetera, but we can make a note to resend that out to the council so that if you have connections, you can let us know and we'll go from there. So real quickly, I know we're a little behind on time, but I'll keep us moving. Land acknowledgement is we've done, I don't know, we've done this over the last year and a half. We've actually read our land acknowledgement, but there was some conversation within a couple of different tables and meetings that we attend on a regular basis, and more specifically the Legislative Committee on Indian Services, LCIS, has come out with some new guidance based on some feedback that the LCIS had received around the use of land acknowledgements. There's various perspectives, as you might imagine, among the tribes around whether a land acknowledgement is a helpful, useful, informative way to sort of acknowledge past atrocities and injustices, or if it's a thing that kind of just puts salt, if you will, in the wound and is kind of more of a performative step that lacks real commitment. And there's folks in between those poles, right, in various points along the continuum. So there's not necessarily one way around the land acknowledgement, and more, I think, broadly, a commitment that an agency has to making real outcomes in tribal and Native American communities in Oregon and beyond. So we're kind of considering the guidance and thinking about and taking a step back from the acknowledgement. And what is happening is that our Equity and Disparity Committee is going to kind of take on this work and come up with a recommendation that that then we can bring back to council about whether we should do an acknowledgement, but rewrite it and reform it and be more clear about our commitments, or whether we should kind of go in a new direction. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but we'll, I think at our December meeting, our goal is to have some recommendations from that Equity and Disparity Committee. So it's an assignment that that committee has taken on. I see that Melissa's put a link in the chat. Hopefully you all can actually see that or link to it. If not, we can also just distribute that as a document to the council after today's meeting. Any questions or comments about the land acknowledgement? All right, keeping us moving. So just a quick review of the agenda. Well, we're basically on time. Look at that. We're going to do, starting in about 5 minutes, we're going to do some check-ins in breakout rooms. Eric, thanks for confirming in the chat that the link, that you're able to access the link. So that's great. Sorry, back to the agenda. You see the agenda just on screen. We will do the breakout rooms in the next few minutes, and we'll just divide folks evenly into 3 or 4 groups, maybe 5 groups. There'll be a couple staff probably in each group that can kind of help move things along, but in your groups you'll want to select somebody who can kind of help facilitate, somebody who can keep time, and somebody who can report back. We've done this the last several meetings. I think it's just been a good way for us to kind of check in and start to process what's on the agenda, things that people are thinking about. Maybe in your breakout, you want to talk a little bit more about the land acknowledgement and just ask some more questions in a small group setting, and that works too. So that's our, that will happen at 8:30. Then we'll move, we'll come back together. You know, it's always interesting. We may come back probably a little closer to 8:50 or 8:55, and then leave a little space for some kind of report back. We'll see how groups are going. Melissa and I and other staff can like text each other and see how that's all proceeding. We want to give you the space in those breakouts, but also know that we've got business to get to. So we'll do our best to have those last maybe 20 minutes or so. So that might mean we start the community engagement update and discussion close to the top of the hour, might be 9:05, depending on how much we hear in that report back. We don't have a break at the top of the hour, but we'll take a break after that first presentation around 9:50. So be aware of it for that. But if you need to, step away, have a bio break, water, whatever you need to do, you may have just a couple minutes there at the top of the hour to do that. Then we'll move on at 10 o'clock to our state advisory group and juvenile justice committee update. Got a presentation there from MPC Research and some other pieces there. Then around 10:40, we'll move to a legislation, policy, and strategic plan update. It's in that period between 10:40 and 11:20 where we will have a vote. And if, when we come back at roughly 9 o'clock, 8:55, whatever time, we'll check again, Melissa, kind of where we are on the quorum, because if it may make sense that we actually move to the presentation where there's a vote around 9:50, just so that we can get the vote done. So we'll make that decision at the top of the hour. Then we'll move into committee updates around 11:20. I'll do a quick update at 11:30, 11:35, and then any public comment can happen after that. And then we'll adjourn. We'll do our best to maintain the time, and if things end early, maybe we can give you a little longer break, or if things go a little bit over, that's fine. There's I think plenty of places where we're not going to necessarily need the whole dedicated time for some of these things. So I think we'll definitely be able to get you out by noon. Well, this is what I'll say. If you have questions about the agenda, I'd like you to bring them to the small group meetings so we can get into those as quickly as possible. And Melissa, I think I'm turning it back over to you.
All right, to have everyone ready to zoom into a Zoom breakout room. I think we're all ready.
Awesome.
Right. I'll set the timer and then I will send reminders to the breakout rooms.
How long you to do it? Like 20 minutes, Melissa?
Yeah, we'll do 20 minutes. So I'll give you like a 5-minute from the end.
Yeah. I'll say real quickly, my experience is the first 10 minutes, you just kind of get your bearings. In the last 10 minutes, you actually start getting in conversation, and then it's over. So it will, if you need a little extra time, you might let staff know, or if you're into, we could probably go a little bit longer if it's helpful. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to open the rooms now. So we'll see you in a little bit.